Hello, every folks, and welcome to a quick preview for Wandering Sword. So, this is something that the devs gave me a chance to give a quick peek at and quick first impressions of recently through the demo that they were giving out there. And this is basically like a, if you ever wanted to go to any martial arts movie and make it into a game, that's basically what's going on here. Obviously, stuff like that has been done before, in different ways here or there, and I can't necessarily say I've seen everything out there for sure, but this has been a dang good time so far. So, more or less what you're doing here is you start off with your usual, martial arts setting, namely you have some friends and family, they are immediately annihilated. You have a mentor figure, they are promptly murdered, and then you are all ready to start off on your journey of, becoming the best dude ever. But what I'm loving about this thing so far is that there seem to be just mechanics for everything, and it's, I love some good mechanics all over the place. So, like, truth be told, I spent a kind of unreasonable amount of time just kind of sitting here, relaxing, fishing, enjoying the water effects here. Is it a little bit weird that you can glitch through the floor there? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But you know what? It's a demo. There's a few little bits and pieces here and there. But there just seems to be a mechanic for pretty much dang near everything. I mean, I think I've probably found myself just running around skilling in this game more than actually fighting anything. Because it's just a very chill experience. I mean, the visuals, the music, the really well-done sound effects, actually, are just very, very good in terms of bringing you into the whole experience. Again, not super familiar with, with a lot of more kind of Chinese-style games there and all that kind of thing, but, like, it's just a really pleasant experience. And not to mention, I just want to go back to the visuals real quick here, because this particular thing is actually very similar to a game that I'd actually criticized a decent bit, visually speaking, and I gotta say, the visuals here definitely do a better job of what I was trying to emphasize in that case. Namely, if y'all remember when I was doing some reviews for Triangle Strategy, I was saying the whole 2D HD thing was kind of bugging me because there was just too many flashy lights distracting from things. It feels like this was sort of made with a similar art style in mind, but with those same ideas in mind. Namely, like, look around. Every little thing in every scene that you go to is just absolutely alive, but because all that extra effort wasn't spent on adding a third dimension, everything is just alive everywhere. The visuals for everything are presented as they should be. You see little, bugs interacting in the plants. You see little bits and pieces coming off of just about everything, moving around as it should. It just feels very lived in, It feels like this is a place where people would actually want to be, and really, it's just kind of striking. I'm sure there's similar approaches to that out there, but I'm just saying right off the bat, I'm constantly loving these little details all over the dang place. Now that being said, being an RPG, obviously you're going to have a party. And what I found especially funny is that you seemingly can get just about everybody that isn't a merchant as a party member through one means or another. Main way of doing this, and this one I have actually heard of coming up, every now and then for different games and all that. But pretty much every character that you see out there, whether they're wandering around from town to town or not, has a stat sheet, has a whole, thing for what they like, dislike, whatever else. See if we can stop this guy for a conversation, or is he too busy? Okay, the guys carrying water will refuse to fight anything, but so far the majority of NPCs that I've run into have a stat sheet, which basically means that you can more or less give them stuff until they become your friend, at which point you can beat the hell out of them until they join your team. Now, this hasn't been the case all of the time, but, like, for example, is this the guy I was talking to earlier? This is not the same guy. There's a guy that looks somewhat similar to this that was wandering around. And so, like, for example, you go up to some random person, it's like, oh, they prefer, some, like, let's say, some certain type of items. In this case, this guy is all about collecting weapons, and you can see that based off his inventory here. And, I mean, he's apparently a very obvious spy. He's very upfront about his job. Like, for example, you'd go and you'd gift them weapons or something. Like, if I tried to give him this fish, he probably would not be too happy about it. But at that point, you give them some gifts, depending on how good the gift is, how much they liked it. Eventually, they end up getting this score up here. Once it reaches 20, they'll agree to fight you, and yeah. Like, once you fight somebody, you can potentially get their reputation, or their kind of like of you high enough that they'll join your team, which is it's interesting how so far every character that I've run into has been a little bit different. Actually, this is the guy. This is the guy I was looking for. Like, for example, this one. He was the first dude I ran into running out of town, and so immediately there was the option to go fight him in a 1v1. He was happy to accept a bunch of random alcohol, because clearly this guy doesn't look too sober. And there was the offer to fight, and I'm pretty sure if I could ever beat this guy, he would end up joining the team here. But this isn't always the case. Like, for example, I noticed earlier I had a bunch of extra accessories and flowers and stuff from just collecting things that were hanging out. And there was one of the people in the starting village that said that they wanted those things. So, you know, I handed over all of the goods, and they agreed to a fight, and it turned out to be a situation where they didn't particularly respect the fact that they were beaten with a stick, and they wanted more gifts instead. Also, yeah, this guy just murderizes the hell out of me every time I run into him. I always figure it's worth a shot, but, yeah. Get out of here, drunk guy that has beaten me for like the 8th time now. It's just a hobby for him at this point. Anyway, so yeah, plot-wise, I'm sure there's more going on. Most of it seems to be your standard, you know, kung fu movie kind of stuff, but overall, in terms of the actual RPG mechanics, just like traveling around, enjoying the grind, it's a very pleasant experience. I mean, I feel like I've probably been playing more time playing this like it's RuneScape or something. Like, I'm going around just collecting rocks and trying to smith things so that I could finally make a spear that I found a blueprint for. In terms of character development, like, all of your people will end up improving as time goes on, obviously, but, like, with every fight, you get points to spend towards their techniques. You pick up those techniques through manuals you find through one means or another. Like, for example, if we go over here, just coming off the intro, this guy had, well, actually, I've been buying every book that I can get a hold of, hoping that they might do something. But, like, for example, this one, at the very start, there were some manuals laying around for basic techniques for a lot of different weapons, and you would just go and read those, and, you know, they would give you those particular skills. Now, it doesn't seem to particularly force you to go down that route. Like, it mentions in the character bio for your main character that they're a swordsman on a journey, which is naturally why I maxed out their ability to hit things with a blunt stick. Just kind of to see what would happen, and honestly, it has been a perfectly fine experience regardless. They don't appear to have any particular issues with going down the beat things with stick route. But yeah, overall, again, just like if you're looking for a very chill RPG with a good grind to it, definitely seems to be filling that particular niche there. In terms of the fights and things, they've actually been so at a basic level, it ends up looking something like this. Like, for example, this was a guy that joined up out of the intro. So his whole thing is just spin around, hit thing with stick, and he's just right there to clear out little mobs for out of this cave, for example. Because I was trying to get that spear I was talking about made, for which I need a lot of coal and a lot of iron, and my guy's smithing level isn't high enough. I know, I have weird priorities in these games, don't worry about it. But yeah, there doesn't seem to be any penalty for just kind of doing whatever you want, and there seems to be enough mechanics going on in the world that it's a perfectly viable way to do things. I mean, I found it particularly interesting that I was saving up money for a little while, hoping maybe to go and just buy a bunch of materials that were needed, because the demo actually has a bit of a demo shop to sort of cheat your way into some items. But I noticed that after stockpiling some money, there was actually a chance to get robbed upon entering some areas. So it's just interesting to see the world reacting to little things. So yeah, overall, it feels reactive, it feels fun, it feels like they did a lot of fun things with the combat mechanics. I actually started going on about that one and didn't finish. Like, for example, in this particular cave, there was a fight in the intro wherein they had, I think it was like 7 or 8 factions going on with independent fights at the same time. Just kind of, it was a very interesting intro in which they were kind of just showing off what each of the sort of different weapon types could potentially do, how their different sort of Tetris shapes of damage ended up working in different scenarios, and how you could kind of exploit that to win an unwinnable situation. It was pretty cool. I like how they did that. You can tell that the devs cared, so that's usually what I'm looking for in these games. There's never, like, an exact mechanic that I always need to see, but when I see that there's stuff that doesn't need, quite need to be there, and it's literally only there because someone cared, that's always a good sign to me. So yeah, very pleasant experience. The only kind of negatives so far have been the occasional little bugs that are clearly just because it's a demo. Like, for example, if you go fishing, you can glitch yourself through the floor. Occasionally, you'll see a little screen tearing if you jump in and out of the windows a bunch. But again, it's in that state, honestly, as far as early access stuff goes. That's really mild. Overall, I'd say it feels pretty polished as it is. Like how I've seen some bigger budget stuff come out with a lot more egregious bugs. So there's that. Like occasionally, you'll see some of the usual telltale signs of the engine. Like you'll go out into the world map, you'll pause it, and then suddenly you'll have a stack of 20 people standing on top of you. We can probably just go do that right now, just to show some of those like overworld mechanics. But yeah, in terms of the game kind of making you interact with its day-to-day stuff, it feels pretty good. Like instead of just going and cheesing out the fact that you can go and collect all kinds of unlimited resources in a lot of places, like these things respawn pretty darn quickly. I thought it was based off of area spawns, by the way. I've noticed that it seems to be based off time. So like, for example, I set up a little grinding route, collecting this stuff, going up the steps, collecting the iron over here, going in to collect more iron and 3 pieces of coal, and then circling around to go take a quick nap, and then going to fight this lady down here to see if they'll give more flowers, because I can't figure out where to get another party member, and she seems like the easiest one to get right now. Because every party member I've attempted to recruit has thoroughly whooped my ass. So it's actually, like, that part of the experience I really like, because they set it up right out of the intro where like your main character is just there like, yes, I have learned a couple things, I'm gonna go beat the entire world now. And anyone that's ever gone and done like any kind of martial arts as a kid or whatever else, they know that guy. And your main character is that guy in the intro, and then proceeds to get pounded just into humble pie repeatedly. At which point there seems to be a bit more of a understanding of their place in the world once you come out of the intro. After which you start trying to engage with the mechanics, and then you yourself are fed some humble pie. So, you know what? It's good. It's good. But yeah, this little like stop mechanic, you can potentially just stand in the middle of a road and have 20 people spawn on top of you. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I've been having a ton of fun with this. Like originally, the plan was to just kind of blitz through it and give some first impressions, but yeah, I've been just loving going back to it, and a lot of the times I've been doing phone calls and other things, just kind of doing this in the background. So again, if you want that like kind of pleasant, constant feeling of growth kind of experience, this definitely seems to do the trick. As far as value prospect and stuff like that, I have absolutely no idea, because truth be told, I don't even know how much the game costs. As far as I could tell, the store page didn't even have a price yet. But yeah, for whatever it's worth to you, it's a pretty darn fun experience. I'd say so far, actually, to go over the development thing real quick, I just noticed I missed a couple things when I was talking about things earlier. So actually, besides just techniques on people, which you can upgrade your other people here as well, like this guy will also go down the journey of beat ass with stick. But additionally, on top of everything else, you got whatever's going on here. Apparently, if somebody's more familiar with, Chinese kind of stuff, then perhaps they know more of what's going on here, but basic idea here is that this is kind of like a perk tree of sorts. In many ways, it's funny because this reminds me of the sphere grid from FF10, whereas this over here reminds me of kind of like a more, not quite Disgaea-esque situation, but like, it's a more standard RPG, throw your points at the thing to make the number go up thing. Yes, I have constantly refuse to upgrade almost everything except for stick. I will have my spear, dang it. Anyway, so this kind of stuff feels like I don't know how the scaling works exactly, but the general idea is that as you invest in your ability to do this cultivation-y type dealie, that gives you more points to spend on this, which builds out your character's kind of base stats, so to speak. All of which are, where are we over here? are going to be generally over here, and those seem to scale everything up from there. Like, so, for example, this guy was being all built for just, as I said before, just directly hitting things. But okay. So, aside from that, how has the writing been? That's alright. I mean, it's about exactly as you would kind of expect out of this kind of situation. You got a lot of people talking a lot about their particular factions in fairly standard ways. I mean, it isn't exactly winning any writing awards so far. You got your standard, you know, gotta save the people for revenge and all of that kind of stuff. Everyone betrays each other for, you know, fairly, you know, martial arts movie reasons. Like, just disagreeing for absolutely no reason. It's the usual kinds of stuff that you'd expect. Like, I know personally, my brother and I used to watch a ton of these kinds of movies when we were kids. So it was, I don't know, it just feels good, you know? But okay, so that'll be that, I think. Is it good? Yeah, I think it's pretty good. How's the value prospect? That sound went off there for a second, by the way, because I switched out to the recording software real quick. Value prospect, again, like I said, no idea, because I don't know what the price is, but this, like, I know that it's darn fun, so there's that. Let's see. What could potentially be improved on it so far? Literally the only thing I could think of that I could maybe see a little bit of improvement on, that I would like to see, you know, before a kind of full release there. Sometimes the responsiveness on the tiles can be a little bit iffy. Like, you can kind of tell right here, like, if you're aiming for particular tiles. It's usually not too much of a thing, because you're generally doing a lot of moves in a lot of bigger areas, and you can back out of misclicks pretty much immediately. And most of the time, it will be double-checking all of your moves before you actually kind of commit to them, so there's that. That feels pretty solid. Balance-wise, it's pretty much exactly what I would expect out of this kind of situation. I guess, if anything, maybe it would have been nice to see a bit more of like a dodge kind of emphasis early on, but honestly, they've been... I feel like the options have kind of been steadily trickling in as it's been going on, and can't say that there's been anything that's particularly lacking. Let's see. Maybe some of the, like, minigame... Not quite minigame, but, like, some of the skilling type stuff is a little much. Like, for example, something like, let's say, smithing right there, right? So, in order for my guy to make a spear, in this case, he needed to get forging up to 3. Which, like, for fishing, it's understandable, because you kind of just gotta, like, sit there, and that's about it. And as I understand, collecting will probably scale up the kinds of stuff that you're collecting later on. Like, the reason that forging so far has seemed a bit slow on my guy, despite having that kind of grinding route set up and stuff like that, has simply been, presumably, because this collecting thing is low. So they do have a mechanical kind of way that this is supposed to improve. Like, you improve your collecting, you collect more items, forging goes up faster, because in this example you need like 5 iron and 3 coal, I think it is, to make 1 bar, to raise that up by 5%, which obviously that's going to take you quite a lot of resources, and considering each run gives you about 5 iron and 3 coal, you know, that takes a bit of a hot minute. But presumably as this scales up, things improve, and I would assume, based off the fact that they have a numerical value right there, again, obviously this is all just in the intro, so there's really no reason you can't just repeatedly hit these areas and just collect all these resources. So I'd say overall it feels like... It definitely feels like something that it addresses on its own. I don't feel like it's something that'll actually become an issue. But yeah, for what it is, I really like it. Alright, that'll be that then. Y'all have a good one. Take care.